Readings of Almighty God's Words. The responsibilities of leaders and workers. The responsibilities of leaders and workers. 19. Regarding the various people, events, and things that disrupt and disturb God's work and the normal order of the church, we have divided them into 11 issues in total. Previously, we fellowshipped on the 6th issue, engaging in improper relationships. What does this mainly refer to? Recklessly seducing others and engaging in relationships of lustful desire. What was fellowshipped in regard to this aspect? When such people appear in the church, how should they be dealt with? What solutions are there? Should we turn a blind eye and let it go unchecked? Or should we resolve the problem according to the truth principles? Should we avoid it or influence those involved out of love? Should we fellowship the truth to them or warn them and clear them out? What is the most appropriate way to handle it?
Warn and restrict those involved. If they cannot be restricted, clear them out.
How should they be restricted? Is this easy to do? When such matters occur, it is generally not so easy to restrict those involved. Some people notice such a situation and feel it is inappropriate, but they're embarrassed to speak up. Some people may hint at it indirectly, but those involved don't necessarily listen. How is the humanity of all the people who can recklessly seduce others? Are they dignified and upright people? Are they people with the decorum of saints? Are they people with dignity and a sense of shame? If someone just reminds them with words or fellowships the truth normally to them, can it solve the problem? It cannot. When such a matter occurs, it means it has actually been brewing in their hearts for a long time. At that point, is it easy to control? Can helping and attempting to lovingly influence them solve the problem?
No.
So, what is the best solution? It is to clear out such people, to isolate them from those who sincerely believe in God and do their duties, and to not let them continue to disturb and harm others. Currently, in some churches, incidents of men and women seducing each other are cropping up incessantly. These people, as long as they have the opportunity, seduce each other, behaving particularly wantonly and without any sense of shame. I heard about a man who seduced multiple women. He was not engaging in serious courtship, but just recklessly seducing and clinging to any woman he met. Some people say they are just interacting normally. That's just their way of interacting. Most people find that way of interacting unedifying, revolting, and disgusting. Isn't this a problem? Can this prove that such relationships are improper? If two people dating not only affects their own performance of their duties, but also that of others, they should be restricted. They shall not be allowed to date within church life, especially not in a full-time duty church, because this affects others' performance of duty and is detrimental to church work. When they can keep their mind on their duties, they can return to the full-time duty church to do their duties. Some people do not engage in serious dating, but rather seduce and cling to others recklessly, toying with lustful desires, disturbing church life, affecting people's moods, and disturbing others. This situation constitutes a disturbance of the church's work and should be resolved and handled according to the principles. These people should be isolated and cleared out in a timely manner. Is this problem easy to handle? No one should be allowed to disturb and disrupt church life and the church's work, and such issues should be handled according to principles. Some people say, in situations where there will be no one to take up their duties if they are dealt with, they cannot be dealt with. They should be allowed to just carry on and seduce others as they wish. However they seduce others, it should be permitted. Does God's house have such a rule? Was there such a principle in the last gatherings fellowship on how to deal with such people?
No.
When encountering such situations, the church leaders and supervisors become confused and do not know how to handle them, allowing these people to recklessly seduce others in the church, which makes most people feel uncomfortable and leaves them unedified, being repulsed in their hearts but not daring to speak out and having to endure it. The leaders and supervisors believe that the church's work and God's house cannot do without these people, that if these reckless seducers are sent away, there will be fewer hands to do the work. Is this logic correct?
No.
How is it incorrect?
These people cannot do the work. They have no mind for it.
That hits the nail on the head. What kind of people do you think are capable of recklessly seducing others? They have no restraint whatsoever. They are disbelievers, non-believers. It's not only that they do not love the truth, are averse to the truth, have little faith, are young, and have a shallow foundation. That's not all it is. Are all non-believers who don't believe in God capable of recklessly seducing others? Are they all capable of engaging in licentious activities? Only a portion of them. A minority still value integrity and dignity, care about their reputation, and have a baseline for their conduct. These so-called believers in God are no better than non-believers. So, is it excessive to call them non-believers and disbelievers? Although these people can perform some labor in God's house, in terms of their nature, they are disbelievers and non-believers. They have no principles in anything they do and conduct themselves with no baseline, no dignity, and no sense of shame. Non-believers even espouse the idea that people need their pride just as a tree needs its bark. Yet these people don't even want to preserve their pride. So can they want the truth? Can they sincerely expend for God? Can they act according to the principles in their duty? Absolutely not. They are purely laboring. People who labor possess no truth whatsoever. Their labor disrupts and disturbs, and does not meet the standard of doing duty. Although outwardly they seem to be doing their duty, no matter how you fellowship the principles with them, they simply do not listen. They do whatever they want, not acting according to the principles. When these people listen to sermons, their demeanor and expressions expose their essence as disbelievers. Others sit upright, listening seriously and attentively. But how do these people listen? Some rest against a table, stretching and yawning frequently, not sitting properly, looking nothing like a human. What kind of people are those who look nothing like humans? They are not humans at all. They merely wear the trappings of humans. How do you feel when you see a group of these reptiles coming to listen to sermons? Doesn't it make you uncomfortable? This group looks disgusting, and seeing them makes me not want to speak. I speak to humans, not to reptiles. Can the states of people who listen to sermons like this improve as they do their duty? Can their faith in God grow, and can they understand the truth more clearly the more they do their duty? Absolutely not. No matter how they do their duty, their stature and faith do not grow. They do everything wantonly and without restraint, living within the lusts of the flesh and corrupt dispositions without any awareness, self-reproach, or discipline. They are non-humans. For such people, without even considering the other bad things they have done, or their actions that have violated the principles and harmed the interests of God's house, solely initiating improper relationships is enough for them to be cleared out. This is a very simple matter, yet church leaders and supervisors just scratch their heads, not knowing how to handle it. This matter is very easy to handle. It has been fellowshipped on before. It should be handled according to the principles, and those who ought to be cleared out should be cleared out. Don't overthink it. The work of God's house will carry on just fine without them. Tell me, what should someone do if they find dog poop or excrement somewhere? They should clean it up immediately. If not cleaned up in time, flies and mosquitoes will come right away, and people cannot have peace in such a place. What do I mean by all this?
To solve the problem of initiating improper relationships in the church, the first step is to cleanse away those vile disbelievers.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. If there are people of the stinking dog poop variety in the church, they will surely attract some stinking flies. By cleansing away the stinking dog poop, these flies will naturally disappear. Isn't this a solution? Is this solution reasonable? When dealing with such issues, some church leaders always have concerns, saying, if we cleanse away those who recklessly seduce others, won't there be fewer people to do the work? Is this a problem?
No.
Why not? How should this concern be resolved? Even if their concern made sense, thinking that if the demands on people were too strict and those who could do the work were cleansed away, there would be no one to do this portion of the work. Wouldn't it be easy to find some other capable people to replace them? And even if replacements could not be found immediately, the work could be done later when suitable people were found without affecting the work of God's house. God's house does not support these people who do not do proper work. If they can repent and attend to proper tasks, they can continue to do the work, but if they do not repent, then they should be disqualified from performing their duty. Isn't this justified and reasonable? God's house would rather support laborers than support disbelievers and non-believers. Is this principle correct?
Yes.
In what way is it correct? Even if a laborer does not pursue the truth, they are still willing to labor, and they can exert effort in a well-behaved and obedient manner in God's house. Even though they are just toiling, they are loyal, and at the very least, they are not bad people. These are the kinds of people that God's house retains. If a person is bad and vile, always engaging in crooked and nefarious practices, and if they cannot even labor well and are not up to standard as a laborer, then such people are non-believers, and God's house does not keep them. Therefore, it is not because they are laborers that God's house does not keep them, but because their labor is not even up to standard, because even their labor is transactional. It is because they always want to do evil and cause disturbances, always trying to engage in crooked and nefarious practices in the church, upsetting the order of the church's work, and affecting most people's performance of duty. They corrupt the atmosphere of the church and disgrace God's name. Nothing could be more appropriate than cleansing them away. Wherever there are people of the stinking dog poop variety, they should be cleansed away immediately. Understood? Today, we will continue fellowshipping on the 12th responsibility of leaders and workers. Promptly and accurately identify the various people, events, and things that disrupt and disturb God's work and the normal order of the church. Stop and restrict them and turn things around. Additionally, fellowship the truth so that God's chosen people develop discernment through such things and learn from them. What is the 11th issue of this 12th responsibility?
Manipulating and sabotaging elections.
We have done some fellowshipping on manipulating and sabotaging elections before, when fellowshipping on, and exposing the various manifestations of antichrists, haven't we? The work arrangements of God's house include rules for church elections. Elections can be held once a year, and there can also be elections held under certain special circumstances. All churches should select leaders and workers at all levels, according to the principles set by God's house. The rules for elections include election principles, the criteria for selecting people, the methods and approaches of elections, and various matters of attention that the brothers and sisters need to be aware of during elections. Of course, before each election, leaders and workers at all levels should fellowship on all aspects of the election principles to ensure that God's chosen people can clearly understand them. This way, the results of the election will be better. We will not fellowship on the details of elections today. The main topic of today's fellowship is some manifestations of manipulating and sabotaging elections. Church elections must strictly follow the election principles set by God's house to select the candidates most suitable for being leaders and workers. if the election principles are violated and other election methods are used. This is the doing of false leaders and antichrists. God's house must outlaw such violations and investigate and deal with the main individuals who manipulated the elections. During church elections, various people will be revealed, and people's various mentalities will be exposed. Some people pull lots of shady maneuvers behind the scenes to get themselves elected as leaders, or to get people who are beneficial to them elected. For example, some people fear that those who pursue the truth will be elected as leaders and threaten their status, and so they make every effort to pass judgment on these people behind their backs about the weaknesses they've shown and mistakes they've made, condemning them as arrogant and self-righteous with the disposition of antichrists, and so on, all in an attempt to make them lose the election. Others, in order to get elected as leaders, buy nice things to bribe people during the election period, or make promises with pleasant-sounding words, and also use various means to incite and instigate others on whom to vote for or against. No matter what means and methods they use, they're all for the sake of manipulating elections and swaying election results. Despite the Church repeatedly fellowshipping on the principles of elections, such as selecting those with good humanity, who pursue the truth, and who can lead the brothers and sisters to do their duties normally, read God's words normally, enter the truth reality, and other such principles. These people just do not listen and want to pull shady maneuvers. What does it mean to pull shady maneuvers? It means they always want to cheat. They never openly evaluate who is good and who is not, always wanting to pull shady maneuvers and engage in cunning schemes and machinations behind the scenes. They even plot behind the scenes about whom to elect and whom not to elect, trying to get everyone to reach a consensus. Aren't these shady maneuvers? Isn't this cheating? Is this safeguarding elections in an open and above-board manner according to the truth principles? No, it isn't. They are using human schemes and methods in an audacious attempt to manipulate elections. What is their purpose in manipulating elections? They want to control election results. They want to be elected themselves. And if they cannot be elected, then they want to decide who is elected. So they pull shady maneuvers behind the scenes. They do not show consideration for the work of the church or the life entry of the brothers and sisters. They do not think about the interests of God's house or the brothers and sisters. They only consider their personal interests. When elections take place, their own intentions and desires are their top priority. So why do they want to manipulate elections? If someone truly wanted to bring the brothers and sisters before God and into the truth reality, would they act this way? Would they have such ambitions? Would they display such behavior? No, they wouldn't. Only those with ulterior motives, ambitions, and desires who want to manipulate the church's elections would act this way. Within the church, they draw in some people who get along rather well with them, who share their views, and who have the same motives and aims, and also ensnare some people who are usually weak, don't pursue the truth much, and are muddled, ignorant, and easily swayed and manipulated, forming a force to disturb the church's election work. Their purpose in opposing the church is to get themselves elected, to get themselves to have the final say in the election results. They want to elect their predetermined people, those who are beneficial to them. If these people get elected, then their plot has succeeded. Would the result of such an election be correct or incorrect? It would definitely be incorrect. Those elected through an election rigged by evil people would certainly be beneficial to the evil people. Why would they be beneficial to these evil people? Because the evil people could then act willfully and recklessly and run amok in the church without anyone daring to expose or restrict them. They would not be cleared out, while those who pursue the truth would be excluded and suppressed by them, and the church would become the domain of the evil ones. Clearly, the end result of an election manipulated by evil people is definitely incorrect. It certainly goes against popular opinion and violates the principles. The church leaders and the brothers and sisters should be aware and vigilant of all the behaviors and actions of these people during elections. They should not be muddle-headed about this. Once signs of manipulation and sabotage of an election are discovered, measures should be taken promptly to restrict those involved. And if these people cannot be restricted, they should be isolated. These people are particularly audacious, unrestrained, and difficult to control. To sabotage elections and manipulate the results, they will surely pull shady maneuvers behind the scenes, saying and doing many things. What should be done about this? The matter is easy to handle. If church leaders discover the problem, they should expose it and publicize it, having the brothers and sisters fellowship on the severity and consequences of this matter, and on just what the nature of such actions is. Finally, they should take certain measures. What measures should be taken? Whoever is always pulling shady maneuvers behind the scenes and attempting to manipulate and sabotage elections should be dealt with unceremoniously and be barred from participating in elections. What does this mean? It means their vote does not count. No matter how many people are involved in manipulating and sabotaging an election, their votes should all be nullified, and they should not be allowed to participate in the election. Regardless of who it is that gets misled and disturbed, as long as they have followed the ways of those manipulating the election and colluded with evil people to deliberately damage the election, God's chosen people should stand up to expose them and revoke their right to participate in elections. Is this a good approach? This is done entirely to safeguard the work of the church. Don't these people refuse to accept restrictions? Don't they refuse to accept the election principles of God's house? Don't they want to have the final say? If they have the final say, it is Satan who is having the final say. God's house and the church are places where the truth reigns. Satan cannot be allowed to call the shots. Since these people want to pull shady maneuvers and deliberately manipulate and sabotage this election. It's simple. Their votes are nullified. No matter who they vote for, it's no use. None of their opinions are valid. And even if they insist on running in the election, that won't work. God's house has administrative decrees and regulations, and their right to participate in this election has been stripped and canceled. If they still disturb the next election, then their right to participate in elections will be thoroughly revoked, and they will absolutely no longer be allowed to participate. This is how those who always pull shady maneuvers to manipulate and sabotage elections should be handled. Whenever there is a church election, there are always some evil people who start to grow restless. Some pull shady maneuvers behind the scenes in an attempt to manipulate and sabotage the election, while some are eager to compete openly with others for the leadership position, arguing until they turn red in the face, even being on the brink of acting impetuously, resorting to violence, and coming to blows, leaving the brothers and sisters unsure of whom to listen to or elect. During the election, they do not fellowship on the truth, nor do they discuss how they would carry out the church's work, what paths there would be in the work, or what work ideas and plans they would propose if elected leader. Instead, they make sure to expose the shortcomings of other candidates and attack them, while also drawing in one group of people to form opposition against another group, creating a divisive situation in the church. What does such an election become? It becomes something that divides the church. Before the election results are even out, the church has already been divided. Is this a phenomenon that should emerge during a church election? Is it a normal phenomenon? No, it's not. If you want to be a leader and believe you have some abilities and a sense of burden and are qualified for this work, you can participate in the election according to the principles of God's house. Of course, you can also state your strengths and merits and fellowship on your understandings and experiences, so that the brothers and sisters can be convinced and trust you to take on the work of church leadership. However, you should not achieve your goal of being elected by attacking others, as this can easily mislead people and bring about negative consequences. Brothers and sisters of small stature and with no discernment can easily be misled by you and will not know whom to choose. And the church can also be thrown into chaos and plagued by division. Wouldn't that be giving Satan an opening to exploit? In short, participating in an election without following the principles, and always having ambitions and desires, and using despicable means to achieve one's goal of being elected, are all of the nature of manipulating and sabotaging elections, and are improper election behavior. Of course, some people have proper behaviors that should be distinguished from this. For example, if a candidate fellowships on how to do various items of church work well, such as gospel work, text-based work, and general affairs work, or how to improve church life, resolve the difficulties of God's chosen people in their life entry, and so on, this is all proper. Expressing one's viewpoints and understandings properly, sharing one's thinking and plans regarding church work, and so on. These are all part of normal speech and behavior, and they align with the election principles set by the Church. Apart from these, any improper behaviors displayed during election periods that are particularly obvious should draw people's attention. People need to be vigilant toward these and discern them. Do not be careless.